Hello and welcome. I'm Vijay Srinivas. India EU signed historic trade deals as both nations vow to slash tariffs on automobile, alcoholic beverages, and textiles. Joining us on the Federal to decode the real economics behind the hype is top trade economist Mr. Biswajit Dhar. Sir, thank you very much indeed for your time. Let me begin with you there. What's quite straightforward about this deal is that EU certainly gets access to one of the world's vast and a lucrative market. But what is there for India in this particular deal, if you could elucidate for us?
Yeah, in India too gets access to the EU market, and according to the Commerce Ministry, about 99% of EU tariffs will be gone when this agreement is implemented. Of course, there's still time for this agreement to be implemented. It will be sometime next year, but
Yeah.
that is the kind of a scenario that we're looking at. And a number
Mhm.
of sectors, especially these labor-intensive sectors like textiles and clothing and others, these will actually benefit from access to the EU market.
What Indian sectors do you think that stands to gain a lot from this deal, and what sectors you think that they could feel the pinch?
Well, see, potentially all the major sectors that are now exporting to the European Union, which includes iron and steel, pharma, I mentioned textiles and clothing. These
That's right.
stand to benefit. And apart from this, there are also these dynamic sectors, export sectors that come up recently, that mobile phones and other electronic items. I expect that exports of these items will also increase as we go along.
Dairy industry and the agriculture are certainly kept out of the deal, and there's also one of those pain points, as far as the India-US trade deal is also concerned. India has been very handling it in a very cautious approach as far as the trade and agri sector is concerned. Prime Minister too has talked about this in public. But you think that's a good idea if you strike a historic deal, leaving two of India's major sectors away from that? Is it a good idea?
So, of course, India can't afford opening up its agricultural sector. The core products, the cereals, can't actually afford opening it up because we have these large number of small farmers who really can't face import competition. So there could be serious threat to India's food security and livelihoods of these smaller farmers. So the government had actually taken a policy decision, and it's taken decades back, that whenever we do trade deals, it started with the WTO. We are not going to be offering the core of Indian agriculture. We will not be opening it to import competition. So I think it's a good way of calibrating India's integration into the global economy. Sectors, manufacturing sectors. Of course, there are other processing industries would of course be opened up to the EU. So it's
That's right.
only the major cereals which are and dairy products which are not on offer. But
Mhm.
food processing sector is something that, of course, the European Union is looking forward to exploiting here in the exploiting the Indian market. So, so overall, I think there's going to be a calibrated sort of integration, like I said, into the major markets, and that suits India the best.
There's also this internet joke that goes around, where you say United States is the place where you innovate, and China is the place where you manufacture, and European Union is the place where you regulate. So obviously there's going to be a lot of regulation that's going to come in for the Indian exporters
Absolutely.
there. So they're also pushing hard on in terms of sustainability, be it in terms of carbon norms, and in terms of labor standards as well. So do these clauses, you believe that could actually raise India's competitiveness in terms of its industry players, or you see this sort of hampering India's growth in a way by being non-tariff barriers? How do you see it?
Yeah, of course, of course. I think there's a huge challenge. It's so this market access. This lowering of tariffs is not going to lead to automatic increase in exports, as you rightly said. That the European Union uses all these standards, the very plethora of standards, starting from environmental standards, the carbon border adjustment mechanism, which is already in place, and for five sectors, and this is going to expand in future. How it expands, we'll have to wait and watch. And this would bring a huge amount of compliance issues on the Indian industry, which is not going to be very easy. Labor standards, certainly, because India will have to now comply with the international norms, which is set by the International Labour Organization. So Indian governments have always favored in the past, and even more recently, through the when we adopted the labor codes, a more flexible labor market. The labor standards are not as per the international norms. And again, one will have to wait and watch how the European Union responds to this, because their stakeholders, domestic stakeholders, are extremely particular that the sustainability chapter, all the commitments that the partner countries take in the sustainability chapter are implemented to the full, and there are going to be a whole lot of sort of institutional mechanisms which will be put alongside when the agreement is implemented. I also want to mention another issue, and which is going to be problematic, I think, because European Union, in its press release, has said
Hmm.
that India has agreed to provide high level of protection to intellectual property, including plant varieties, in the plant, including for plant varieties. Now, the plant varieties protection is something that is a strict no for India, because we had our own system, what we call a sui generis system for protection of plant varieties, where we provide farmers' rights. And this is a unique kind of a system when we recognize the traditional farmers and the contribution they have made to plant breeding. Now, the international system, which is prevailing and which you actually insist on in the trade agreement, is the International Convention for the Protection of New Plant Varieties, the UPOV Convention. And UPOV Convention is pretty strict in terms of not allowing the farmers to reuse their seeds, and of course, the farmers' rights are non-existent. So this is one area which is going to be, I think, a problem. And this is the first reading, because we have to look at the text and all the different chapters. And there are several little issues which are there, right from how the MSMEs are getting subsidies from the government, and this is
That's right.
part of the EU, the competition chapter, competition policy chapter of the agreement. Again, we'll have to see how what is the language and how it actually pans out, because European Union again is extremely particular that the competition policy norms that it has decided for itself is implemented by its partner countries.
That's right. You rightly brought in MSMEs also here. You spoke about textiles, gems and jewelry, all these sectors that India stands to gain certainly fall under the SMEs, the MSME, space right now there, isn't it? But MSMEs and SMEs in India have always struggled under heavy compliance norms, be it
Yeah.
domestically, and now it's going to be international, which is European Union, known for its high levels of regulation there. You think this particular deal is, in a way, they to sort of help and empower corporates more than just MSMEs and SMEs?
No, I think you see there are certain things that India needs to do, and one of the things is meet these international standards and comply with these international standards. Now, if you want to access larger markets, you have to if you want to access developed country markets, which are very strict in terms of the health safety norms and other kinds of norms that I just spoke about, then we will have to meet the challenge. And I think we haven't done it. Yeah, we haven't done it, and that's the reason why Indian exports have been lagging behind, because uh, we only, the thinking in the government, also business, is only in terms of a tariff barrier. They really don't look at the non-tariff barriers, and how to comply with these non-tariff barriers or non-tariff measures very seriously. So I think this is an opportunity, and there's a carrot and a stick. So if you want to get the carrot, then we'll have to, you know, face all the, meet all the compliance norms, and be ready for it. Yeah, because in the past, all of the past experience with FTAs hasn't good at all, because our partner countries have been able to exploit our market, but we haven't been able to do it. We haven't been able to exploit the market opening offered by partner countries, and my argument is that this is partly because we have not been able to meet all the compliance issues in the partner countries. So with our stakes are very high now with the when we have done this deal with the European Union, and also because India needs to decrease its exposure to the US, because of the uncertainty, the policy uncertainty that the Trump administration has brought in, and we need to diversify. Yeah, and therefore I think this agreement can stand in good stead if we, of course, take care of all these compliance issues. But I will also insist that Government of India needs to look at the intellectual property, the plant varieties protection issue carefully, because this is something that is not going to be acceptable to India.
We also see that duties of a barrage of product that's going to come down, that's going to come into India to come down, and you see that this will actually reduce a dependency on China.
Well, reduce, well, no, because see, we actually import a lot of intermediates as well from China. Yeah? And now that is not going to happen, because it's only going to be, I think, finished products coming into India from the EU. So I don't think our dependence on China will reduce. But what could actually change is that if we can really take the steps needed to ensure that our exports increase, then I think even these imports from China, imports of intermediates from China, that can be put to better use, because then we'll have access to larger markets. Yeah, but the key here is to see how we can increase our exports, take all possible steps to ensure that we meet the compliance issues, and get proper access to the European Union market.
One last question there. So, I know you're a trade economist, but still a geopolitical question there. When you look at journalists do read the mannerisms and all that. If you really look at today's press conference, you saw, Ursula von der Leyen, and Prime Minister Modi, is the camaraderie between them. That's really not the quite the unusual way for the European leaders to actually act in front of the press. You saw them, in great camaraderie there. You see that this particular deal was in a way pushed because of the pressure from the United States that's been coming in. The elephant in the room is certainly the United States, and maybe we need to deal with this. The statements are also very important. Both of them said we don't want to de-risk the sort of the global order, is what they said.
No, absolutely. I think the deal was so expedited because of the pressure that both the countries, both EU and India, have faced because of the Trump tariffs and all the uncertainties that have been thrown in. So there is no doubt about it that the hidden hand is really the Trump administration, which has actually pushed. But I would say, I would actually also say, from the point you're making about the camaraderie between the two sides. Now, I would actually like this sort of the relations that the good relations that we have seen on the camera to go beyond trade relations, because what we need, or bilateral trade relations, I would say, because I think India and EU basic have to work together at the global level, and they need to put the multilateral trading system in order. Yeah, they need to repair the multilateral trading system, and I think this is a good opportunity for the EU and India to go beyond their bilateral relations, and
Hmm.
really repair at least some of the damage, or start repairing some of the damage along with like-minded countries. I think it's
That's
very
right.
important that we take advantage of this moment, and think beyond our bilateral trade relations, and that will be the best. I think that we can offer also to the rest of the world.
Also, one last question there. You think this particular deal, the India EU, FTA, the historic deal, would actually make sort of push United States, add some psychological pressure to the United States to get the FTA between India and the United States done? Do
No,
you
I
feel that?
don't think so. I don't think so, because
At
I
least, do you
think
think that India will have an upper hand in terms of negotiations there?
no, I think, see, the US, Trump is very clear about what he wants, and he
Hmm.
really wants the major cereals market, at least part of the major cereals market. He wants us to open up the wheat, rice, corn, soya market, and that's a strict no, because it's a political commitment that the prime minister had made to the farmers, that
That's right. Yeah.
no harm will come on them. And any opening up of the market will actually set the cat among the pigeons, and a kind of uncertainty will set in, which I don't think the farmers who are already in a tight spot, they deserve. I don't think that the India US deal would can move, because that will require Trump to come
Hmm.
down from his the high horse he's riding at this point, and I
Hmm.
don't think Trump is going to do it in the near future.
Thank you very much, sir. Very insightful talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.